Hey guys, it's Amber. So I am home. It feels so great to be home. I'm mostly all natural. I have a little bit of concealer on, but I just felt like for this video, I just kind of wanted it to be just real and raw. And yeah, so I have a lot of thoughts today. Some of them might be a little heavy. I'm just kind of talking about life and feelings and anxiety and just self-care and things like that. So if that's not something you're interested in, this is just more me chatting about whatever I see fit. Also, I am in no way a therapist or anything. I'm not someone who has any kind of certificate or training in anxiety or mental health, but I am someone who's gone through a lot of things, and I was a hairdresser for like 14 years still, technically. So I don't know if that qualifies you. If any job does, it would probably be that. And I'm also in no way like complaining to let people feel bad for me or to get attention for anything. This is more or less just, I've seen a lot of people talking about mental health and making awareness about it and how we should take care of ourselves. And I just wanted to add my 2 cents to the pile and just kind of normalizing it so people won't be so like, oh my gosh, you know, like I can't talk about this XYZ problem because people will judge me or whatever. If you want to judge me, go right ahead. I'm just going to say it like it is. If you guys have been on my channel for a while, you know I've talked about, you know, having a hard time making friends. I've talked about my body image in my fitness videos. I have talked about how I felt about certain features and how I felt about them, confidence, rosacea. Like, I've talked about a lot of things. So I feel like we're kind of bringing it back to some of those more meaningful videos that I think a lot of you enjoyed. And I'm not quite sure what is happening outside. Seriously, my neighbor's deciding to mow their lawn right now. I know this is probably really annoying if you can hear it. I'll try to like sound it out. But little miss is asleep and I don't know when else I'll have time to do this, so Mr. Mowing Man will just be white noise. So I've had a lot on my mind lately as we're like heading back into back to school season. If you're going to school, if you have kids go to school, or even if you're not going to school, just even if you don't have kids, just that feeling of like kind of summer kind of dwindling down and like getting back into the fall. And fall to me just is more like a routine time. It just feels like that time where we get back into our routines, we get back into our schedules, because summer just feels a little bit more free and just a little bit more like carefree. And that is really good, and I think we all need that. But I love schedules. I love having a plan for my day. And so to me, I really enjoy this time because I feel like I can get back to more of a consistent routine, I guess. I also feel like for some people, when you don't have a routine, especially like in summertime, if you're a mom, it's easy to just kind of lose focus on yourself. Or even if you just work a lot of hours, it's easy to put everything else in the forefront and just kind of stop thinking about what do I need. And I know people don't want to be like, oh, I'm a selfish person, I just want to think about myself. But self-care doesn't mean you're a selfish person. It's just that you're wanting to put your needs first, because you can't take care of other people if you don't do anything for yourself. I think in the summertime and as school is winding down, it was easy for me to just think about everything else and kind of, you know, with everything else that's been going on in my life, kind of forget about the self-care thing. So I'm kind of looking forward to kind of getting back into that mindset. I've also been studying a lot about anxiety, and by studying I mean like I really like the YouTube channel Psych2Go. I feel like they have a lot of good information and just like other videos and things on that. Anxiety is something that's very interesting because I feel like a lot of people joke about having anxiety. Anxiety is obviously different than just having stress. Like, everyone has stress. Everyone feels stressed. And you can have like generalized anxiety where it's just like you kind of have a general anxiety over everything that you do in life. Like, it doesn't really matter what situation it is. You just kind of always feel a little anxious. Or there's people that have more just social anxiety, which is like people with the fear of public speaking or fear of meeting people, people who don't like to leave their house, you know, those kinds of things. And I actually feel like I have some of both. I'm not too bad on the social anxiety, but I feel like I'm starting to realize as I'm watching these videos and kind of learning more about it that I'm like, wow, there's a lot that I put up with on a daily basis that I don't even realize because it's just become my normal. You know, it's like you think about how many things that go through your mind and you just think, oh, well, that's just the way things are supposed to be. And then when I hear people say like, oh, this is what people with social anxiety feel, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that wasn't what other people felt. Like, I didn't realize that. So I guess that kind of is me. And I know sometimes when you watch those kind of videos, it's easy to like be like, oh, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. And I feel like anxiety as a whole has become like trendy. Like people feel like all these YouTubers are like having breakdowns, like, oh, I have so much anxiety and depression. And I know people kind of roll their eyes at that, but like honestly, it is a real issue. And mental health, like it's not okay to just like make fun of people with mental health. I know that sometimes you'd be like, make a comment like, oh, I'm having a bad day, I'm not bipolar or anything. Well, what if I was bipolar? Like, what would be wrong with that? If I had to take medication or I need to do things to help myself because I was bipolar, like we have this general stigma over mental health issues that's like, you just get like, oh, you're crazy. Like, oh, you just get put in the crazy box. And it's like, okay, guys, just as much as if you had diabetes or a thyroid problem or anything else, like mental health is really important. It's something that we can help, whether you need help with a doctor or medication or just like self-help techniques. Like it's something that is really important and I feel like isn't talked about. And so even though I'm not someone that has like a lot, like I'm not a professional or anything, I just feel like it is important to share those feelings so people who are also feeling that aren't feeling like they're the only ones and you feel like you're all alone. General anxiety to me is more like you're having feeling of fears. You know, a lot of people with anxiety just think about all the things that could happen all the time. It's like you don't know how to turn that part of your brain off. Like you're driving in the car and you're like, what if that person ran into me? Or what if this happened? Or what if that happened? And it can be really exhausting to always have your body kind of in that fight or flight pattern where you're just always looking for something going on. A lot of people can have panic attacks. You can have irrational thoughts. This can go with anxiety or depression. I mean, people can have thoughts where when they're in their low state, they can have these irrational thoughts that it's like something pops into their mind and they're like, I would never think that. Why would I think that? Sometimes anxiety just gives you these thoughts that you know aren't rational, things that you don't believe in or things that you would never want to do. But some people have a hard time controlling those, or they just obtrusive thought patterns, and it can be really daunting if you feel like you're being overloaded with that all the time. I feel like I'm someone that just kind of has a low level of anxiety, you know, most of the time, but I manage it super well. Like I use my anxiety to my benefit by making sure that I'm really careful about what I do, and I try to pay close attention to detail because that seems to really help me. And I try to know and understand what's going on because when I feel like I know and understand, then it helps my anxiety. I feel like when there's a lot of unknowns or things that are like mysteries, that's really hard for me because I just think of all the things that could happen and I'm like, oh, what could happen, you know? Versus if there's something huge I have to do, but I know what it is, it's much easier for me personally to cope when I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is my plan. Even though it's going to be really hard, I can get through this versus, you know, just those big unknowns are always just really hard for me for some reason. I think sometimes when you have anxiety, you just get so used to that being your normal daily life, like I mentioned earlier, that you don't realize other people don't feel the way you do, or they might not think things are a big deal that you think are a big deal. And you just get to that point where you have a little bit of a threshold, if you will, that you're just kind of used to having. And I didn't realize at points in my life how much I was suffering until I looked back and I'm like, wow, I was like not in a good place at that time, or I was really struggling and I wish I would have reached out and talked to someone, or I wish I would have gotten help. Or I mean, there's times I feel like I should have had some sort of anxiety medication, but I just felt like I could deal with it, and I did, I guess. But it would have made my life so much easier if I would have just done something to address it instead of just being like, I'm fine, you know? And I think that a lot of people don't want to, you know, take medication. That's a total personal choice. You know, doing whatever it is that you can help yourself, whether it's self-help or medication or therapy or whatever it is that you need, like there's no shame in doing that if it helps you function. That's just where I'm at. So I think that part of my anxiety is probably genetic because I feel like a lot of my family has had anxiety and we have similar thoughts. And sometimes it's interesting for me to talk to like my sisters or my mom or, you know, and we kind of talk about things that we've experienced or the ways we look at life and we kind of laugh. There was a meme. There's a really good Instagram that talks about anxiety that I love to follow her little memes. Let me pull it up really quick. It's called Elevate Your Light, and she actually does have a bachelor's degree in psychology, and she just shares little posts and things, and this is like no sponsor or anything. She doesn't even know who I am. I like her little memes, but one that I related to so much, it's like, if I was accidentally weird to you once, just know I'll be thinking about it every night for the next 50 years. Oh my gosh, can I tell you how many times I've had weird, because I do have a little bit of that social anxiety where I kind of feel uncomfortable with small talk. I'm always nervous about saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing or looking stupid. I've never had a lot of friends, so it's like when I have a chance to meet a friend, it's like hard because I'm like, I want to have a friend, but I don't want to say something dumb. And then I end up being like shy, and then people think I'm stuck up, and it's like this whole weirdness that is me. But if I've ever said anything that was like weird, oh my gosh, I'm totally that person that'll just like think about it, and I'm like, why did I say that? Oh my gosh. So I read that to my family, and we were just laughing because we're like, so relate, so relate. So when I was growing up, I had a lot of joy in my childhood. I had a lot of good things. My family loved me. We did vacations. We did those things that families do. We had a lot of hard things, a lot of hard things. I didn't grow up with a lot of money. We had family members who had sicknesses and things. And so it was hard. And it made me become independent, and I grew up pretty fast. I didn't grow up fast like I moved out of the house when I was 14 on my own. It was just that I ended up maturing and was able to take care of myself and be responsible for my schoolwork and all those things at a pretty young age without my parents nagging me. I just did it. I did it because I wanted to. I did it because I wanted to be successful. I started going to cosmetology school. I put my mind to what I wanted to do, and I accomplished it. I didn't need someone pushing me along because my parents, they had other things going on. And so I just had to kind of motivate myself. When I was 23 or 24, my dad passed away. And I mentioned this before, but that was one of the hardest times. And that was one of the times where I really felt like I was depressed. And I didn't have any idea of it. I didn't realize how it was affecting my other relationships. I didn't realize how it was probably affecting my work. I was pretty much the sole caretaker-ish. I mean, I had other family, but I was kind of the person who had the main responsibility of helping my mom through the sudden loss of her husband, and he was only 59. My mom was in her 50s, and it was such a shock. My dad had a brain aneurysm, and it just totally just threw us all. It was just shocking. And to be young, I was married. I had my oldest was only 6 months old. I was in the process of trying to build my own life. Shortly after he passed away, I bought my first home. I started my own business. So many things were going on. And at such a young age, I had so much responsibility on my shoulders and trying to do all these things. And I think a lot of times I just kind of went through the motions of life, and I just wasn't really connecting with other people just because I was just trying to get into that survival mode. We're just getting through it. And, so there's just been lots of ups and downs I've had through my life. I kind of joke that if something can go wrong, it probably will. I have lots of stories where it's you could start telling them and people are like, that's not real. All those things don't happen to a person. I'm like, yeah, they kind of do. And, I don't like to get too personal and share oh, my life stories, blah, blah, blah. But, I'm honest about how things have made me feel because I feel like people can relate to it because we all have hard things. I mean, this isn't a competition of, I've had the hardest life ever. No, it's not. Obviously, there's people who have way harder lives that have had more things to go through than I have that I can't even imagine. I can only have thoughts on what I've gone through. I had a really hard time with pregnancy. I had a hard time getting pregnant. I lost a baby. I just was so sick. And when I was pregnant with Little Miss, I really struggled with depression. And I remember making a video when I was pregnant. It's still on my channel. And I hadn't posted a video for a month. And I came back and I didn't want to come out and say I had depression. I was just like, I don't feel good and I'm struggling. And so many of you guys, if you were OG, you remember how hard that was. I had a lot of you guys encouraging me, and that was really helpful. But I didn't tell anyone. My husband knew, bless his soul, because he lived with me. But my mom didn't know, my family didn't know. I literally would have days at a time where I just got out of bed to take my kids to school, or that was basically it. My kids just, they would on autopilot. They just would play or watch TV. I'd get up and take care of the basic needs. But other than that, I was just lay down all the time. And I remember my husband would come home and be like, Amber, you're out of bed today. I'm so proud of you. But it took all the energy I had to get up to get dressed to drive over to the school to pick up my kids and then come home and lay on the couch and like try to get them a snack. And it took all the energy I have. And I'm like, I remember going to my doctor's appointment and my doctor being like, oh, are you doing okay? And I wanted to tell her that I was feeling so depressed. And I was like, well, I don't really feel good. And she's like, well, you're pregnant. You don't feel good. That's how it goes. And I remember my husband kind of looking at me like, you need to say more. And I'm like, yeah, I just feel like I'm really struggling. I have lots of interest. I don't feel like getting up out of bed. And again, I should have just said, this is worse than what I normally feel when I'm pregnant, but I didn't, because I just, that social anxiety part kicks in and I'm like, oh, I don't want to just, I don't know why I didn't want to say more. It was hard for me. But yeah, so then, through the past few years, let's see, you guys know my mom had cancer, and thankfully this time I had more support. I had more of my family here to help me. But so hard. And while my mom was going through cancer and all of that, my husband got in a car accident, which is not something that I've talked about a lot, but he still suffers from the effects of that car accident, and that has completely changed so much about our lives. It's hard to see someone that you love go through so much and not really be able to do much to help them. Of course there's things I can do, but like, we've had a hard time finding doctors that will treat him because of the situation we're in, and it's just really difficult. And it's hard because it affects me, of course, it affects my kids, but it affects him so much more. But it's a ripple effect. It all kind of goes out. But he's amazing. He, still able to provide for a family, go to work every day, and accomplish what he needs to accomplish. And I'm just so grateful for that. But yeah, it's just like, you look at, YouTubers or, anyone, and you just see the happiness that's outside. You see the good things that are going on in my life. You see those kinds of things. It's easy to not know that people are struggling with as much things as they are. And I think that's why people get so shocked when these YouTubers like have these meltdowns, because they're like, you have money, you have fame, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, but money doesn't fix your problems. Like, money doesn't make someone who has cancer get better. Like, yeah, it can provide treatment, but it doesn't cure them. And so it's just hard, because it's just, you can't judge what you see, because people want to share the best parts of their life. So you think, well, why am I sharing this? Why am I talking about this? Because I think it's important for you guys to know that everybody struggles. Another question is do people pretend to be happy, or are they lying when, someone like Graveyard Girl or these other YouTubers say, I struggle with anxiety, and they come on and they're happy in their videos. It's like, oh, we were just pretending. No, when I come on camera and I'm doing my makeup and I'm excited, I'm telling you about all these things, I am genuinely excited. If I don't feel like filming, if I don't feel like I'm having a good day, I'm not going to get on here. This is not my job. I'm not going to get on here and make a video if I'm having a bad day. I choose to film when I'm feeling great. So when I come on and I'm happy and I'm talking about all these things, I legit am happy. I'm having a good day. I'm feeling good. And sometimes it's nice to step away from the hard things in your life and to come on camera and talk about things that don't really matter in the scheme of the world, of the newest palette, how much makeup I've been able to use up, a new look, those kind of things. But kind of with my no buy and things like that, I'm trying to I still love beauty. I still love makeup, but I'm starting to bring the focus back to not being so hyped up into the newest releases and more thinking about makeup as a tool to help me and other things in my life, which I know this is a really, really long video already. So anyway, and in the midst of all this, as you guys know, I moved across the country. I left my friends and my family. I left my job, and I didn't realize how much of a loss that would be, because I thought that I would just love being a stay-at-home mom, and I do. But there was a part of me that got so much emotional, like just the feeling of worth of creating something and making others happy helped me so much emotionally that I didn't realize, even though people are paying me for it, it's something I enjoy and something I like to do creatively, that I didn't realize how much it was making me feel important and of value until I stopped doing it. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this big part of my life is missing. So I moved here. I'm just feeling kind of lost and drifty, and I'm so happy with the situation that we're in, where we're at, and I love being here with my family. But I was just feeling like I wasn't quite settled. Like, I needed to get myself together. And I started feeling more anxiety. I felt like I was starting to sink a little bit. And, my husband was like, why don't you go back to Utah for a month and take the kids and enjoy? And so I did that. And it was so nice to just, kind of have a break from responsibilities here and just kind of play. And that's what I did. I I played hard. I went with friends. I went with family. Some of my days were crazy because I was like meeting up here, birthday party, meeting with friends, this, that, you know, and I went crazy because I wanted to get like a year's worth of fun basically packed into 30 days, and I'm exhausted. I'm still not fully unpacked. I still have all my makeup packed in my bag here. This has not even been opened yet. I'm getting there, but I was just feeling all this stuff, and I was like, I just want to make this video. And I started thinking, okay, when was the last time that I really felt good before all these things started happening? And I think right after I had Little Miss, after the first initial, you know, where you're not feeling good. Some of you guys know I started working with an online fitness company called 3S, which is no longer. And I started working out, and I was just like, you know what, that really helped me. I've been working out on and off, but of course, with all this going on, it's been more sporadic. I trained with her for a year until I felt like she was kind of going a different direction, and so I stopped. And then 2 months later, she shut her doors because she just didn't have the passion for exercise anymore, and she's gone to a different type of business. And so I've just been doing it on my own, but I was kind of feeling like, oh, you know, my doing is good, and just I feel like I need to get a routine. So that's one of my goals, is to get a better exercise plan, whether I go for another challenge, whether I find another online trainer, whether I work with a company. I'm not sure exactly which direction I'm going to go. For right now, just getting down a good exercise plan. I feel like I'm at a pretty good body weight. I feel like my body image overall is okay. Of course, there's things that I don't like about my body. Everyone has those things. But more than that, I feel like it's so good for mental health. There's something about exercising and exerting energy that just makes you feel good. And I know people are like, oh, I hate to exercise, and they don't want to hear about exercise, and I get that. And I know people who do love to exercise are annoying because they just talk about how wonderful exercise makes you feel, and you like try to go run and you're like, this is the stupidest thing ever. Why would I want to do this? But I promise you, there is a middle ground. There's a middle ground where you might not love it all, but you can start to feel the benefit. And so if you push through that first, like, I hate exercise, and you don't have to go to all the way to this part of it where you're just like, exercise all the time, 24/7. There's a middle ground where you can get the benefits of it and not exercise 2 hours in the gym every day, because let's be honest, who has time for that? I'm talking 30 minutes, maybe an hour exercise. The next thing I want to do is have some quiet time for myself. Now, I am a spiritual person. I'm a Christian. So for me, that may look like meditation. It may look like reading my scriptures. It might mean, you know, reflecting on positive quotes or things like that. I think this kind of time is important for anyone. It doesn't matter what your beliefs or religion is. If you don't believe in God or anything else, like, you can still take time to just read something that is uplifting, something that makes you feel good, something that makes you feel positive, something that makes you feel energized, something that gives back to you and is really just self-serving, something that makes you better, you know, whatever type of reading it is that you want to do. I feel like I really want to make sure I'm not just, oh, getting that in here or there. Like, I want to make it a scheduled time, and I want to make it more of a priority, and so I'm making sure it gets done. Before I left, one of my really good friends, before I left the first time from Utah, gave me this really cute journal. This is a little gratitude journal. It says, rejoice and be glad. And, you know, I just was unpacking, and this got set on a pile of other books, and she gave this to me with the sweetest note, talking about how hard it would be to move and how I could take time every day to reflect on being grateful. And this was a gratitude journal. And I thought about this a lot, and I tried to think about being grateful, but I just didn't get out the pen and start writing. So I did my first little entry here, and you know, it was really nice. It was nice. I know there's some quotes that talk about if you take so many days and just do positive affirmations, how much it really helps your mental health. Just saying like things like, what you're grateful for. I'm glad that this or that. Like, Little Miss was sick yesterday, and I just thought, I'm so glad she wasn't sick on the plane. Instead of being like, I'm so mad my child threw up 3 times. I'm grateful that wasn't on the plane. I'm so grateful that I am home. I'm so grateful for this. It's amazing how once you start saying all those things and they start adding up, like, you just look at your day and you're just like, you instantly feel happier because you're just like, wow, look at all these great things I have to be happy about. The next one is sleep, because I need sleep. Sleep is good for me. And also not feeling guilty about wasting time sleeping. Now, I'm not talking about laying in bed all day and never getting out of bed. But like, if I feel like I need a nap one day, I'm not going to guilt myself that I'm just wasting time by taking a nap. I'm going to listen to my body. And that goes along with this exercise and reading my journal, and all these other things are great. But I don't want it to become so much pressure on myself that it makes me anxious that if I don't do one of these things one day, that I'm beating myself up. So it's kind of a balance of these are tools that I can use and that they'll help me, but not so much that I'm making myself feel like I'm a horrible person if I didn't get my workout in. I'm not going to be a horrible person or fail if I didn't write in my journal that day. Like, just finding that balance of being content with what I can give that day and not pushing myself beyond what I feel like I can do. And knowing that some days it's okay to take a break and just say, you know what, today I'm having just a down day and I'm going to watch Netflix, and that's okay. It's okay to listen to yourself. If my body is so sore and I'm so exhausted, I don't have to push through another workout just to be a certain size. It's just for me when I want it, when I want to feel that energy, and when I feel like I can do it. But it's not going to be something that I'm a slave to. The last thing is trying to keep order around me. It's amazing what little things like making my bed or getting my laundry put away right after I fold it, you know, cleaning up my vanity after I use it. Those little things that when I'm having a day where I'm feeling particularly anxious, when I look around and I see a lot of things to do, it just makes me feel overwhelmed. I'm just like, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. But like if I'm constantly in a state of just kind of like tidying things up and I'm having a bad day, like when I got home, my husband and I did a really good job keeping the house clean. So yesterday when I was exhausted and little miss was sick, I was feeling okay because I knew that pretty much the house was taken care of. Like I didn't come home to this huge mess that I was like, oh my gosh, she's sick and this and da da da. It's amazing how that can kind of just help your mindset. So if you take a few minutes with what you're doing and just help tidy things up, I don't know, for me it helps when I don't feel cluttered, you know, when I don't feel like so much stuff needs to be done. And there are some times that I just have to let things go as far as, yeah, my craft desk right now has things piled on it. And as long as it's not something that's like huge, you know, like your dishes or your kitchen's a mess or whatever, I can let some of that go because, you know, you can't tackle it all in one day. But yeah, those are basically all my thoughts. And I don't know, this is one of those videos that's like, I feel like I should film this. Maybe it was helpful. I just felt really strongly yesterday that this is something I needed to say, and I'm not sure why. So I don't know if someone out there watching this needed to hear this, but you know what? If you struggle with anxiety or depression or anything, you're not alone. You're important. You know, if you guys ever want to talk to me, I'm always here. So I don't have millions of subscribers, so I'm not someone that doesn't ever answer if you leave me a comment or whatever. You know, you can pretty much guarantee that I'm going to be there and, you know, comment back and respond. And I think that's all. I think I'm set up for a good day. I've already done some reading and I've exercised. So I'm going to write in my journal while little miss is sleeping and then just carry on with my day, finish getting unpacked. And I feel like there's so many good things on the horizon for today. I feel ready and I feel prepared to tackle my day. So we're going to get to it. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.